Gungrave. It's an anime by this guy. I'm not gonna even try and pronounce his name. Gungrave is not their most popular work. I think that would be Trigun. It seems pretty popular, but I don't watch much anime, so I wouldn't know. However, I do know at one point in time there was a Trigun game being made for the PlayStation 2. I only ever got one trailer and was shown at a big gaming event. It was never formally announced that it was cancelled, but it's safe to say that it's cancelled. However, Gungrave did get a game. 2 games, in fact. I'll start with the first one. It's just simply titled Gungrave.
Gungrave.
Every time you start the game up, it has a pretty flashy intro, but other than that, the game just kinda starts after you hit new game. There is an opening cutscene, but I have no clue what is going on. Now, like I've said, I haven't seen the anime, so this could be pretty important to it. It could just be completely made up for the game. I don't know. I do know this is the guy you play as, just named Beyond the Grave. You get your guns from this suitcase and you're off. This first mission is pretty cool. It even has an opening cutscene. I'll let it play out, it's kinda short. That's it, you're just thrown into the action, no tutorial or anything. All you can do is just shoot. And I mean shoot, look at him go. You have seemingly infinite bullets and you don't need to reload. And that's fine by me, this game throws a lot at you. And I mean a lot. Sometimes dozens of enemies can be on screen at once. The game's flow would certainly be changed if you had to stop and reload. Since there's about a dozen guys on screen at any given time, bullets sometimes don't do the job as well. That's when you can bring out your special ability. Right now it's a rocket. The coffin on your back actually shoots the rocket, which is actually kinda cool. It doesn't seem to have a very good blast radius. However, the rocket itself does a ton of damage, so nailing an enemy with this will put him out of commission for sure. You can get your special back by— oh wait, level's done. After every level, you're put in this room. Think of it just kinda like a hub area, if even. There's a song that plays here, but it's copyrighted, so you won't be able to hear it in the video. It's called Here Comes the Rain by another name I'm not going to try and pronounce. I originally thought this was a cover of the song Rain by The Cult, just because they share one lyric that's repeated often. But no, it's not a cover. I'll leave both of those songs in the description if you want to check them out. There's honestly not much to do here besides save. Save and go to the next mission at least. There's 2 people here you can talk to. They don't really make much sense to me, but I haven't seen the anime, so maybe it's related to that. The girl goes on about how she's sad for dragging you into her fight. The doctor guy just kinda goes on about whatever. I usually just don't even bother with these guys and just leave and go to the next mission. Speaking of which, the next mission takes place in a factory. The factory level is pretty straightforward. A straight line, pretty much. Just kind of follow the horde of enemies that keep spawning in front of you and you'll eventually get to your objective. Most levels are like this. A straight line, pretty much. Although there's no reason to go off the beaten path. There's no collectibles or anything, or at least none that I've found. There's no unlockables. There's nothing interesting to see. You're just supposed to follow the path the game has set out for you. The game is usually pretty straightforward where it wants you to go anyway. Only on a few occasions that I actually get, quote, lost. That was usually just me getting, well, confused and turned around at some point. Me being stupid pretty much, but that's nothing new. What does the end of the factory mission hold for us though? Just kill some guy. Again, don't know if he's tied to the anime or not, but I'm assuming not. You can kill him pretty easily if you have a special saved up, and you probably will. I don't think I ever went over how to actually get your special. You get your special just by obliterating everything that you come across. The main resource for obliteration is people. The more shots you land on someone, the higher your combo goes. The higher the combo, the higher the charge that goes into your special meter on the top left. However, people aren't the only resource to charge this. Some objects in the game world can be shot, like a lot. By shooting some objects in the game, you can just continually rack up the combo meter. You could do this for a minute straight and end up coming out with 10 specials ready. I'm not sure how the game dictates what objects can be shot for combos and what objects can't be. To me, this just seems like a bug that never got patched. But we may never know, and besides, it's pretty useful. Not complaining. So one special will obliterate the factory guy. The next level is called Chinatown. Chinatown is unique, both visually and gameplay-wise. Gameplay-wise, this introduces the first boss you'll fight in the game. Chinatown's a little longer than a normal level. You actually don't spend that much time in Chinatown itself. Only about a quarter of the mission is spent in Chinatown, the rest is spent everywhere else. You go from Chinatown, to some back alleys, and then to a bridge overlooking an airship. This bridge is interesting as it has a little event happen on it. As you're walking towards it, this giant machine, I'm not even sure what this is, will come out and attack you. Attack is in quotes, it doesn't really do anything. It moves at a snail pace. I guess if I just stood there, it would eventually run me over? It's really easy to outrun. Like, really easy. Wow. Eventually you jump from the bridge onto the airship. Here's where you get another cutscene. I'll summarize the cutscene here. The guy you play as beyond the grave used to work for this organization called the Syndicate. And now you're, well, trying to kill him. Of course they're not happy with this, and the larger fellow decides to take you on. There's 2 phases, and I seem to die once to each phase. One where he just has a gun, and is just shooting at you. And the second when you're on top of the airship and he's flying around. The second one shocked me a little bit, not out of fear, just out of confusion. He's gotten quite a bit larger and he starts ripping people out of his body to throw at you. This game got kinda weird all of a sudden. The boss fight isn't that hard. Especially if you did the trick where you can farm specials. I can't lie, I'm struggling to say any more about Gungrave. It's a fun game, but it can get a little boring. It's not a bad game, but I'd struggle to call it a good game. It's somewhere in the middle, just an alright game. It's also only like a few hours long, 2-3 hour long game. That doesn't really help its case. But what about Gungrave Overdose, the second PS2 game? Well, let's take a look at it, I guess. Like the first Gungrave, there's an opening cutscene. Although this one's much lengthier, it doesn't give a whole lot of information. The only thing to really know is that Grave is back. This game has a tutorial, unlike the first game. Not that much has changed. There are a few new abilities though. For starters, you can now charge your shots. Charged shots do massive damage. And if you charge it long enough, you can do multiple in a row, pretty much eradicating anything you're aiming at. You can now parry rockets being shot at you and send them back to their owner. I have some strong opinions on the new rocket guys, but that's for later. You can combo attacks with the coffin on your back now, pretty much a melee weapon. Now to be fair, you could do this in the first Gungrave, but it was a practically useless thing to do. In the first one, it was just one swing and you're done with it. Here in Overdose, you can do multiple in a row. Very handy for when guys get up in your face. And trust me, they'll be getting up in your face. You can also slam your coffin down on the ground and use it as a temporary shield, although it doesn't block all damage directed at you. I can't lie, this is very situational and I never used it much. Another new feature is this. I don't know what the point of this is actually. It doesn't seem to do any damage. You can even charge it up, which does nothing. Matter of fact, you'll be taking damage while you do this. Enemies can still hurt you while you do this. I think this was some little taunt system that never got finished in development. Or maybe this is finished, who knows. Grave himself has also changed quite a bit. They've slimmed down quite a bit, not as bulky as before. Also with a much darker color palette now. I think I like the original Grave a little more, but that's just personal taste. One more new thing is that this game has a ton more cutscenes. Like a lot more. I actually found myself skipping a good portion of them. Some of them didn't even need to be in the game. They must have gotten a bigger budget for this game or something. Well anyway, here's a rundown of the story. The girl from the last game returns with a new character, Spike. Spike is kinda like a boy genius. There's a new drug on the street called Seed. It's no good and pretty much brainwashing anyone that takes it, so it's up to Grave to put a stop to it. The first non-tutorial level is this hotel. The second you enter the hotel, you meet two brand new characters. RB, a guitar-wielding ghost, and Juji, a zombie with a temper. If you beat the first level, these two actually become playable characters, but you have to start a new game to play as them. A little unfortunate. They both seem to play the same as Grave. Juji maybe does a little more melee damage, and I think RB might have a little more range than Grave. I don't have any evidence to back those two claims up. That's just what it felt like while I was playing as him. Well, back to Grave. On this level, you might notice the enemies do more than just stand there, like in the first game. They can be seen hanging from banisters, trying to take cover. Keyword is trying, I don't let them get far. But they do, for the most part, still just kinda stand there. It's nice to see they gave them a little bit more to do, even if it isn't much. They also deal more damage. No longer can you just shake off small arms fire. Pretty much everything will be damaging you this time around. So if you can, you gotta be careful. But you can't always be careful. This game has a really bad habit of throwing like a million guys at you at once. I know that's kind of half the point of these games, is to just gun down hordes of people. But in the first game, at least they'd give you a break. Or at least, only send 10 guys at you at once. Here, there can easily be 20 plus guys on the screen at any given time. Now this wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for one specific enemy. The rocket guys. The first game had rocket guys, but they weren't that big of a problem. You could just shoot them in that game and be done with it. They didn't have a riot shield like an Overdose. In Overdose, you're kind of limited to going up and meleeing them, or parrying their rockets back at them. Now in the beginning, it's not so bad. However, the farther you get in the game, the more rocket guys can spawn at once. Level 5 is a perfect demonstration of the dilemma I have with the rocket guys. This level will just send hordes of them at you, and when their rocket hits you, it knocks you down to the ground. So you can get into the loop where you're hit by a rocket, knocked down to the ground, only to get up and get hit by another rocket and repeat the process. This game is just full of stuff like this. Endless stun locks, hordes of enemies sent at you, with no break time in between to recharge your shields or anything. These two things kinda bounce off of each other and just make the whole experience frustrating with Overdose. Maybe in some way they knew this, as they only charged $15 for this game. No, I don't mean I've only paid $15 for it. I mean at launch when this came out it was only $15. I can't find any information on the first Gungrave's price, so I'm just going to assume it was a full $50 or $60. Back then, the first Gungrave would have been the bad deal and Overdose would have been the best deal. $50 for a 2-hour game? You kidding me? People would be so mad nowadays. Considering it's only $15 for Overdose and it has about 6 hours of gameplay, people would rather go to that one, I think. I'm gonna say it's the opposite way around now. If I were to personally recommend these games, I would say, play the first Gungrave and skip Overdose. Sure, the first game's kinda short, but it's fun to just shoot stuff and turn your brain off. Overdose is just frustrating. If you wanted to pick either of these games up yourself, you're kinda on your own. Prices are kind of all over the place. From $20 to $1,000. I wish I could help out more, but that's really all I got. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, maybe even subscribed. And if you know of an obscure video game, leave a comment down below, I'd love to check it out. But that's about it for me. I'll see you in the next video.
Gungrave